Hey again, guys. So I saw that some people had questions about how to see how much area is actually getting flooded from all of these flooding events. And so I wanted to make another little short video building off my last one to show you guys how to see that. So let's again go to water.noaa.gov and we'll just kind of zoom into our area of interest again. And we already in my last video talked about how to look at the forecast at each of these gauges, but let's this time look at how to see the area that's predicted to be flooded. So this is pretty new and experimental stuff. The science behind this is like amazing. It requires a lot of amazing advances in hydrological science and also data delivery to be able to show this to you guys. And you really can only get this kind of information for, they're saying 60% of the US population. So if you look at this, let's turn off all these other layers and just look at the inundation coverage layer. So you can see it's just these areas in these red lines. I don't think it's loading super well right now. There we go. Just these areas inside these red outlines that have this kind of information where you can actually see predictions for the area that's going to get flooded. Again, from a hydrologic standpoint, this is a big deal that you're able, like that NOAA has gone to a point where they're able to give this information to us and serve it to us in this performant way, like in this public, funded by your tax dollars kind of website here. So just, it's very cool, trust me, and so much work. So I know I've been watching the news a little bit and I've been hearing that the Skagit River is kind of the biggest deal. Seems to be like the most historic flooding that we're kind of seeing in the whole region. So let's kind of focus in on that. And let's turn off some of this stuff we don't want. So let's turn off this inundation coverage area. Let's just turn on this inundation area. Let's just keep the flood outlook and turn off the observations. And let's also turn off the flood warnings just to be able to see what we want to see more clearly. So we got all that off. Now let's turn on the river flow predictions. And yep, those inundation layers, the most important is what we're trying to see and look at. And here I'm going to change this to the River Forecast Center. That's RFC Max Forecast, because that should be the most robust and best estimates that we have. And so let's see, what do I need to explain to you guys? I think one thing is that this is very cool. Sorry, I think this is loading kind of slowly, but we'll just give it a sec. And then we can change the opacity of this as well so that we can see what's going on underneath better. And another thing that I like to remind people is that you can always change your base map. So right now it's topographic, but you can change it to satellite. And that really helps you see like what's going on all around these predicted inundation areas. So let's see, did this work? I feel like it's not working. Okay, there we go. So yeah, with the opacity set lower, say at like 50% or so, you can both see those predicted inundation areas as well as what's kind of in those areas. So for example, along the Skagit here, you can see that it looks like there's some predicted flooding of some urban areas in Cedar-Woolley, but mainly you're gonna be flooding a lot of farmland, which is gonna be really sad and tragic. for all of these small farmers. And I, you know, get a CSA every week where a lot of my food comes from these areas. So I'm very worried about that and about all the people too. So yeah, this is how you can see that. And one other really cool thing is that I think it's not loading super well right now, but let me turn this off and see what happens. So I showed you guys in the previous video that I just made a couple hours ago that, you know, you can look at these, the stream gauges and be able to, you know, see the predictions from the stream gauges and what flood stage that all the stream gauges are in. But with this new flood inundation modeling, you're also able to see the entire river and what stage the entire river is in. So for example, like this entire stretch of river here is predicted to be in major flood stage. And let's see. Oops, that took us away from there, but let's look at this real quick anyways. So River Forecast Center max forecast flood inundation maps. I'm assuming, yeah, mapping, what that M stands for. So this is based on up to 5-day River Forecast Center forecast, and it's to be used where and when a River Forecast Center forecast is available. So whenever you have the option of choosing the RFC forecast, do choose that one. And these ones are more national model based, and so this is kind of more specific to your own area. So whenever this is available, it's I think should be considered slightly better. All right, so going back to here. Yeah, so as I was saying, you're able to see for the entire length of river. When I was looking at this before, it did show up for all the way along here. I'm not sure why it's not working now. Let me try refreshing, seeing if that'll make it show up. But yeah, that's really useful because you don't just have point information like somewhere along the river at a specific gauge, but instead you can kind of see what's going on along the length of the river. Well, it's not showing up for me super well right now, but maybe if you guys try it, you can see that for yourself. So again, the most important thing you want to look at if you are trying to figure out what areas might get flooded in the next 5 days, the maximum area that's going to be flooded, this is the layer you want, this inundation layer. And again, that is under this flood inundation menu option, and you have to click enabled first to get it. All right, thanks guys, bye.